that saved a wretch like me. You're here, I'm pleased, I really feel your company. Your style, your smile, your pace mentality. Lord, have mercy on me. I was blind, now I can see what a king's supposed to be.
Excuse me, miss. I was in the waiting room when you gave your testimony. And what I realized is that we have an enemy in common. While you were being called to the office again, I was being put out the only home I've ever known. While you were shaking with anxiety and fear over something no one ever wants to hear, I was shaking in dread. Because we all know what happens to little girls that have no home and no one to claim them. I think our souls passed each other by. See, my soul left me a long time ago in a dingy motel room, ripped away by brutal force. It fled, unable to find its way back home.
Historical people, who would you want in your seat and why?
Wow. I guess because I'm different. You know, I'm not really starstruck. And so it would be hard to really pinpoint anybody in particular. First person that just came to my mind, you know, I mean, if I had an opportunity to cut Denzel, you know, I would.
That's a good one.
I'd do that.
That would be a dope conversation.
Exactly.
How important is diversity in your work, considering you grew up in a bilingual, bicultural home?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important. I think at this point, just in society, there's just so much diversity. You know, whether it be in language, whether it be in your upbringing, whether it be, you know, whatever that is. And so I think growing up in, you know, a bilingual household as well as really a bicultural, despite the fact that, you know, my parents are you know, both of Hispanic descent, but growing up in two different cultures of, you know, very traditional values in the home and very different, and sometimes similar values, right, outside of the home, but in different ways, right?
Yeah.
He tests those whom he loves. I pray he continues to love me till my death. I pray he continues testing me and testing me and testing me until I have no questions left. Until I can ingest knowledge and choke on lies and spit out truth with every breath. But you see, until love for what he loves and hate for what he hates is the only thing that's left within my chest. I know that I will constantly fight to love what's right because I was created with a heart that sits slightly to the left. But I'm okay with that. Because I always knew and always know that he knows exactly what is best. You see, he knew that it would only be a matter of time before I would open my eyes and finally realize that I needed to look deep down inside and pull out the divide so that my heart and my mind would collide and learn to work together.
What's going on? What's going on, my good people? We are back for another fire episode. This is Ordinary Conversations with Extraordinary People, your host, Willie Beeman, as we continue our series, Business 101, aka Standing on Business. Now, this guy to my left is someone I've got a chance to meet here recently, going to their city council meeting and just getting to know what they do and the things that they're doing. And so without further ado, I got to give him an introduction. He serves as a city manager and emergency management coordinator for the city of Everman. Throughout that journey, he also launched his service in emergency services with the Alpine Fire Department and West Texas Ambulance Service. As far as school, he completed his studies in criminal justice and business administration from Sul Ross State University. Right. Also, in 2024, he was awarded the prestigious William J. Pittstick Regional Excellence Award. I want to get into that. And also, without further ado, last but not least, he is a devoted husband and father of 3 5-year-old twins with the 2-year-old. Y'all put some fire in the chat, put some hand claps in the chat for my guy, Mr. Craig Spencer.
Thank you.
Ooh, yes. What's going on, man?
Nada, man. How are you?
I'm great, man.
Good.
Working like you.
You can take it. I'm good with it.
It's good. I always like to start off the show with our online community, our online family, just allowing the guests to kind of share their upbringing and their childhood, things that they had to endure growing up. And so for you, how was childhood growing up for you? Who was Craig Spencer as a child?
Yeah, so I grew up in Arlington. So I'm from the area. I grew up in Arlington. I grew up real active, being outdoors and some sports. Grew up kind of always staying busy. Lifestyle hasn't changed much, I guess, since then. I always seem to stay busy. But my family was always very active. We were active in the Boy Scouts. We were active in sports, doing different things. So it seemed like we always had something going on.
Right.
So whether it was school or doing any extracurricular activities, that's what I love to do. So growing up was great. I loved it. I've got one younger sibling. My 3 older siblings are a little bit older than I am.
Yeah.
So obviously we've got a little bit of a gap there, but we've got a great family dynamic. Loved it. Had really positive relationships growing up. Met a lot of good people. Had a lot of great mentors throughout my whole life. So I've been blessed in that area.
Wow.
Got to high school and started having to try to think about which path I was going to take.
Yeah.
My dad and my brother both are were nursing home administrators.
Wow.
So they took the medical role. They went down the medical path, and then my dad had a little bit of political involvement too, working on some campaigns and things. And so I wasn't quite sure that was up my alley. Started exploring that. But while I was in high school, I got exposed to emergency services through the Boy Scouts through an Explorer program. And I got hooked.
Yeah.
I got hooked. I knew that's where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So
for you, going back, you mentioned mentors. Who were some of those mentors that kind of helped carve your life where you are today?
My dad was probably one of my main ones for sure. He was a very positive guy. He's a guy, and I haven't met anybody else like him, but he doesn't take no for an answer. If there was something to achieve, it didn't matter what it was, who he had to talk to. He really applied himself and was successful in everything that he was able to put together. So it was really amazing. That was one of my biggest mentors. Through Scouts, I've had several other just real positive mentors. My dad, unfortunately, as I got a little bit older and into my teens, started having some health issues.
Yeah.
And so I had some great men really step into my life to kind of help fill some of the voids that were there at the time. Greg Sugar was one. He was one of my Scoutmasters that helped out. Had some great police officers and firefighters that I met through the Explorer program that really helped out. So having those mentors and father-like figures also involved really helped mold and shape, I think, who I am today.
That's important. Yeah, having a healthy support system is
very, very much so.
Very important. Offset, we mentioned sports, and you said you played a little bit. So
I did. Yeah, I played baseball. Baseball's it. I love baseball. That's absolutely my favorite sport. I like any sport. I'll sit back and watch any sport. I love any kind of competition.
Right.
Baseball's my home. That's what I grew up going to baseball games with my dad. Back in, we were talking about the Rafael Palmeiro and Nolan Ryan and Will
yeah.
Clark and Rusty Greer days,
Right.
and always been a Rangers fan my whole life.
Yeah.
So I loved growing up and going to those games and being involved, and finally got the opportunity to expose my son to it just a couple weeks ago. My brother and I took my son to his first baseball game, and I think he's hooked. He loved it. He had a good time. I was worried he was going to crash out about halfway through, but he made it. He had a blast.
Gotcha. You also mentioned having siblings and having older siblings. Were you guys kind of competitive growing up?
A little bit. So we're a little bit of a blended family, but we were a little bit competitive growing up. My sister and I, for sure, my younger sister and I, we competed in just about everything. We fought in just about everything. Still do occasionally, but no, there's always been some competition. My brother played baseball as well. My older sisters were involved a lot with some sports and extracurricular activities too. They were great mentors throughout my life too.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. I've got a great family. I'm really blessed with some good siblings and good family all around.
That's good. That's good stuff. Also, your journey for emergency management and public administration started right after high school, 2003. Where did the passion for public safety come from? Did it start in high school? Was it before high school?
When I got exposed to it a little bit as an explorer, and I really liked it. When I started college kind of pursuing my father's footsteps a little bit. I started studying business administration, really not knowing for sure where I was going to go.
Yeah.
While I was doing that, I also started on the side with the Alpine Fire Department and West Texas Ambulance Service, and that was kind of helping me fund my way through college, because we've all got to have money through college, right? So that was kind of helping me fund my way through college. And as I was going to school, I was finding myself being more interested in my job than I was in the teachings I was getting in college.
Wow.
And so there came a time where I finally came to the realization that, you know what, maybe business administration isn't what I'm really interested in. So I actually changed my educational path to criminal justice.
Yes.
And I found myself succeeding a lot better once I changed my career path and education path through criminal justice, because I was just so much more interested in that.
Yeah.
I didn't really get back interested in the business until later on, more recently within the last 5 or 10 years, as I started working my way up through administration and realizing that, okay, there's a lot from business administration that applies with criminal justice, and these two worlds really kind of come together and collide in a lot of ways. So I've gone back and really found a lot of interest in business administration, probably over the last 5 or 10 years.
Wow. Being in public safety, I guess, what metrics are being used to measure the success of public safety as far as initiatives and things like that? What would you say?
Community involvement is probably the biggest one. I mean, it really is community involvement and community feedback. Public safety exists specifically for the community. So our whole objective is to serve the community in whatever capacity that we can, whether that's from a fire and EMS response, medical response, or police response. So community feedback is really a huge metric, going back and looking at the kind of feedback that we get from our citizens, where the gaps are. We use several other metrics too. We look at response times, crime data, statistics, those kind of things, and kind of see where the trends are happening and what the targets are. But a lot of it is the biggest metric is community feedback, in my opinion. What are the community needs? What are the community wants? And where can we fill those gaps to keep the people that we're serving happy? And have their confidence through the roof in the service that we can provide.
Gotcha. For you, I guess I'm going to jump around and just be a little roller coaster ride.
That's all right. I'm good with it.
I guess for you, what is it like being a city manager? What are those day-to-day duties for you?
If you would have asked me 7 or 8 years ago if I was going to be a city manager, I would have told you no. There's no way that this would have happened.
It wasn't in the plans.
This was not in the plans. It just kind of happened. I was given an opportunity by an amazing city manager, Michael Box, for the city.
I saw that.
Yeah. Randy Sanders, who's the previous chief, was a great mentor of mine. He brought me into the city manager's office one day and said, "I'm retiring. This is who you need to replace me with."
Right.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, man, this is a great opportunity. But I'm 30 years old at the time. Not many 30-year-old police chiefs out there.
No.
And so I'm thinking, man, I would love the opportunity. I want to give it everything I got to be a police chief. I just wasn't confident that he was going to give me the shot, and he did. He took a chance, and Randy took a chance on a 30-year-old being a police chief. And so I was really granted my opportunity at that point to get into a more administrative role outside of operations and getting more into administration and learning that. And I loved it. And we were able to come in and do a lot of positive things, try to make the department as best as we could, serve the citizens as best as we could, and really grow.
Yeah.
And those positive impacts that we had kind of led down the road. Unfortunately, Michael Box, who's the one that gave me my shot, he was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer.
Wow.
and his time was limited. And so we knew that kind of going into it. And at the point, the city of Everman was they were looking, trying to figure out, what are we going to do for a city manager? Are we going to go to the outside? Are we going to promote from within? And I kind of, in my mind, thought, let me give it a try. Let me see and give it a try. So I went to the mayor, now at 35 years old. I went to the mayor and I said, look, I don't know if you've liked what I've done in the police department. I want to try to apply those same principles that we've applied in the police department in the city. I think I can do this. I think I'd like a shot at it if you'd be willing to consider that. And he took it to the council, and they overwhelmingly supported it, to much of my surprise, but very thankful. And so I've now been the city manager for about 4 or 5 years. And I think it's worked out great. My opinion might be a little biased, but I think it's worked. I think it's worked out great. We've been able to accomplish a lot over the last few years, just trying to bring in creativity and new ideas and be innovative. And how can we solve these problems and address the needs without breaking the bank or making, we just want to make things better. How do we make things better?
Yeah.
And try to think outside the box as much as we can. Yeah. So I think it's been a great opportunity. But I never would have imagined, 7 or 8 years ago that I'd be in the role that I am today.
Right. Studying your bio, I saw that you were appointed city manager in 2020, I believe. So for you, knowing that we're also in the height of a global pandemic, the world being on pause, trying to figure out how do we move. How was that for you, knowing that you were in this role and we're in the height of a...
It was a disaster. No, it was interesting. It was a really interesting time because the world was upside down. We're still recovering from COVID, all the effects that 2020 had on us. So not only did I have to come in and really learn very quickly municipal government operations and how to go about things, but how do we apply that here while trying to recover from a pandemic? And there were things that we were trying to develop and deliver. How do we address the community needs and establishing like a community paramedicine program? How do we meet people where they're at? How do we set up virtual meetings, and how do we safely move forward as a city? How do we navigate the funding that was provided, and where does that funding go, and where should we allocate that? So having to navigate all those while learning still in the beginning, I'm still getting my feet wet here. How do I be a city manager? Yeah. So it was a challenge, but I'll tell you, I've got some amazing staff members and coworkers at our city. We truly function as a team. That's kind of been our philosophy from the get-go, is that it's not me. This is a team effort. It's absolutely a team effort. Agree. Everybody's got a voice at the table, and we figure our issues out together.
Yeah,
and that's been real helpful.
Gotcha. For the city of Everman, what are some key projects or initiatives currently underway that we can look forward to?
So we're doing a lot. We've got some, I think one of our biggest needs right now is transportation. As a city manager, the number one complaint I hear is streets. It's always streets. And so I'm a big proponent of trying to develop programs that are lasting. One of the things when I came into as the city manager role, one of the things when I sat down and met with some of our council members and the mayor, is that it seemed like every time we would do a water line project, right after we just fixed a road. And I'm thinking, can we plan this a little bit better? I think planning is a big part of it.
Yes.
So how do we get deep into planning and doing these the right way? Because we come through and repave this beautiful road. And then 6 months or a year later, here we are digging up that beautiful road to put in a new water line or a sewer line or a gas line. And so that was one of the first priorities, was trying to get that in line. So we're working on that now. We've developed great planning, great capital improvement planning. We put together great committees that are putting all this together. Unfortunately, it takes time. Nothing in government's ever quick. But we've got great plans moving forward. We've got Forest Hill Drive expansion project, thanks to COG and and that group and the city of Forest Hill and Fort Worth all coming together on this project, which I'm a big proponent of regionalization.
Yeah.
I think we've got to take regional approaches to things as much as we possibly can.
Yeah.
But thanks to regionalization in those programs, Forest Hill Drive is going to be a big one for us.
Yeah.
Wichita Street, thanks to Commissioner Brooks and now Commissioner Miles is going to be a big one for us. So transportation is one of the key focuses that we're on now. We're looking on bond projects. How can we improve transportation projects and improve transportation? We're looking at opportunities to try to improve activities for our youth.
Yeah.
That's one of our other big complaints is that there's just not that much for kids to do around here. And our youth in this area need something. They got to have a purpose. They got to have an activity. So we've been working really hard on trying to engage our youth on that front and promote opportunities for them as much as we possibly can. Got a great relationship with our school district.
That's good.
And so I think just trying to get those things off the ground and pushing forward and granting more opportunities is great. We're growing. The city's growing. We've got more businesses coming in. Lots of homes, if you haven't noticed.
I have noticed.
Lots of homes going up around us. So we're just trying to meet the need, meet the growth, and keep up the pace.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in government, things kind of happen backwards. Development typically happens first, and then the improvements come after. So trying to meet those needs as we're growing.
Gotcha. If you could describe the city of Everman in your own words, what would you say?
I'll tell you, I have not, and I've been a lot of places, and I've had the opportunity to work with many other cities. And I'll tell you, there's not another city like Everman, and where everybody truly feels like family. It truly is a close knit community.
Yeah.
And I feel like we really all share kind of the same vision of what we want Everman to be. And I don't mean that from a staff perspective or a council perspective. I mean the people in the community that we talk to, they have the same vision. I think we've done a really good job of trying to share that vision. So when I describe Everman to people, I say, hey, we're really one community. I mean, we really are, and we're pushing for the same goals.
Gotcha. Offset, you talked about this event that you guys have coming up. I believe it's June
28th.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, Celebrate America. So this started, Randy Sanders, the previous chief, he actually started this event. And when we talk about youth and opportunities, this was really the goal for that was, hey, there's always these activities out about that our kids, unfortunately, don't have an opportunity to go experience because maybe it's cost prohibitive or transportation prohibitive. And so we wanted to provide something in our community that was free, that they could go out and enjoy, engage with each other, and have a good time. So Chief Sanders really started this back in about 2016, 2015. Started the Celebrate America Festival, and it's just grown every year.
Yeah.
And so we look forward to it this year because we're celebrating 80 years as a city now this year.
Wow. Amazing.
And we're excited. So we've got more than 50 vendors now that'll be at this event.
Right.
We'll have live music there.
I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, live music. We've got a brand new stage that's been built in the park. We're excited to host the live band on. We'll have All Funk Radio Show there, provide some great music that everybody loves to hear. They've been at our event the last couple of years, and we've got resounding reviews from them and their performance.
That's huge.
Lots of activities out there for the kids, water slides, games, activities, lots of food vendors. So if you're looking for some unique food truck food, if you're a foodie, you definitely want to come out and check out the food trucks. Lots of different vendors, educational opportunities out there, resource opportunities out there as well. We have a craft show, craft sale that goes on. It starts at noon that day, and we go all the way until 10 p.m. At the end of the night, we'll have a live fireworks display right there for everybody to enjoy.
That's cool.
So it's a good time. It's a really, really good time.
That's cool. Also, back in 2011, you started in the Everman Police and Fire Department. So you also mentioned that being a pivotal step in your journey. Why was it a pivotal step?
So about shortly before that, my dad's health and things have kind of deteriorated. It was time for me to come back home from Sul Ross out in Alpine. So I came back, and when I first moved back over here, I really didn't have a plan. I kind of moved back in with the parents, helped out. Where was I going to go? So I started looking for jobs and came across Everman and came out here for one visit, and I fell in love. I really did. So much so that I don't just work in Everman. I live in Everman. I live in Everman now. My family's being raised in Everman. And so came out and had an opportunity, and Chief Sanders again took a chance on a young cop to come in the door, and allowed me to not just come in and be a police officer and a firefighter, but allowed me to really help and mold the future of the department. I mean, he really did do a lot for me in allowing me to do that, and having the opportunity to work with some really great people over there in Everman was really helpful.
Yeah.
It was a pivotal step. It's something I didn't expect.
Right. Staying in that same vein, what are some ways the department connects with the Everman community outside of emergencies? The reason why I ask is because emergencies shouldn't be the only thing that we connect or engage when it comes to the community. So what are some other things you guys do outside of?
Yeah, we try really hard to do as many public engagement opportunities as we can. Our events are mainly hosted by our emergency services department. So Celebrate America, it's hosted by our fire department. We do National Night Out programs. We do our Halloween events, and we take any and every opportunity we can to engage with people on a positive note.
Yeah.
When people call 911 and then they're getting a police officer or a firefighter having to come and tend to their needs, they're having a bad day. That's not a memorable experience. Usually not one that we want to try to build a relationship on. So we try to build those relationships before those incidents happen as much as we can.
Right.
And that's what's been great about, I think, working in a small town, having that small community.
Yeah. Family knit.
You know who the police officers are that are coming to help. You know who the firefighters are. We've built that history and that relationship a lot of times beforehand, and so I think that's been really helpful. Our officers do a phenomenal job of getting out and engaging the community in positive ways.
Right.
We call them cop contacts or community-oriented policing contacts. We encourage our officers, hey, if you're out and about and you see somebody, just make contact with them. Not because they're doing anything wrong. Just go talk. Build those relationships as much as possible.
Yes.
I've seen our officers. We've got one. He's a detective now, but we've got one, Detective Morgan. He's been caught so many times by our citizens there and recorded. He's out playing basketball with the kids while he's been on duty, just engaging with them. He's seen kids have water gun fights out in the front of their home, so he's gone out there and grabbed one and ran around and messed with them. So building on those opportunities as much as we possibly can, I think, really helps to not only build trust but build a relationship with the people that we serve, because we've got to have that relationship.
Yeah, that's so important. Speaking of police officers and the fire department, what kind of joint training exercises does each department conduct to make sure that they are well equipped for duty? What does that training look like?
Have you heard about the animosity between police and fire?
I haven't.
There's in most places there's always that animosity between police. They're always wanting to prank each other, or police always accusing firefighters of sitting in recliners all day, and firefighters accusing police of eating donuts. We have that fun animosity there, but our police and fire department work so amazingly well together. They really do. They work very closely together. We do emergency management exercises, tabletop exercises, several times a year. So what that looks like is we bring in our firefighters and we bring in our police officers, and we throw a scenario at them, and they talk through that scenario and how each one would manage that. Ever since Uvalde, there's been a huge push for active shooter training. And fortunately in Everman, we've always done active shooter training and certification, but since that big push, we've done more of it, and we've done it now unified. So it's not just our police officers that are training, it's our firefighters that are training with our police officers, and we do those trainings together. Any opportunity we can to train together is great. Our firefighters are housed right next door to our police officers, so they have a great relationship too.
That's huge.
It's good to be able to build that friendship and camaraderie. Yeah. If we're going to run into fire together, we need to know each other and understand each other, right? So it's been really good for them to build that camaraderie and familiarity with each other.
Yeah.
We have several firefighters that are also police officers. Maybe they've got a police officer background. And we have several police officers that are either EMS certified or have served as a firefighter before. So having that interconnectivity there is really helpful.
What does effective collaboration between police, fire, EMS, and social services look like? What does that collaboration look like?
That's a really big question right now. That's one that we've all looked at and has been a big topic. The demand on policing has grown. I think the communities expect police officers to not just be police officers and enforce, but now they have to be mechanics on the side of the road when a car breaks down. They have to be social workers and try to resolve domestic disputes and counselors and things. So we've worked really hard on trying to figure out how do we build those relationships and connections with social services and get those introductions. And at the state level, finally, we're seeing more and more funding come down for that.
Yeah.
Because that is a true community need. Personally, I think we expect too much of our police officers without available resources for them or training for them.
Yeah.
We can't expect our police officers to be able to go out and serve as licensed counselors and solve these disputes. And unfortunately, that's the situations we dump our police officers in. And so I think now that more funding is becoming available and things, trying to build those networks up, we've seen positive improvements in that area.
Yeah.
Particularly as it relates to children and our youth. We work closely with the Alliance for Children, which is our child advocacy center here in Tarrant County. And a prime example of great collaboration is the disappearance of Noel, the Noel
Yes,
case.
I read that in your bio.
That case was a really tough case, but we approached that case with a unified front. And so we had a task force that was ultimately developed where we have social services, Alliance for Children there helping us out. Child Protective Services was there on the team helping us out. Texas Rangers, state assets, local assets. We had a great group of law enforcement individuals step up from the Grapevine, Euless, Bedford area that came over to help us investigate this.
Wow.
And so it's great to see that collaboration. That was probably the first time I've seen such large collaboration between all of them. But I can't tell you how invaluable that was on that particular case. And I think as we see how effective that is on large cases, I think we'll continue to see that grow in the smaller incidents. Building things like multidisciplinary teams where we can go out and we can have resources available to our community instead of relying on our officers to be counselors. Let's connect them with an actual counselor, somebody who's licensed and trained in that.
It's important.
And so I think having those resources is really helpful. And we're seeing more and more improvement on that.
Yeah. So May is known to be Mental Health Awareness Month. So for first responders, what resources are in place to support first responders in their mental health? Because they're on the front line 24/7.
Mental health is a big thing for first responders. I've known a lot of first responders that suffer from some mental health issues. I mean, the things that we get exposed to as police officers and firefighters are absolutely horrible. I wouldn't want to describe those things for people, but the experiences that they have to go through, and historically, there's been no resources available. Last legislative session, not the one that's currently in, but the last legislative session, our legislators passed a law to allow for mental health leave and provide more mental health resources for first responders. So that's something that we're able to provide now. So when our officers or firefighters are exposed to something that's traumatic, we're able to grant them leave time to help recover from that, not stick them right back out on the truck or stick them right back out on the streets to go and expect them to handle the next call without any issue. We in Everman also we've got a great chaplaincy program, so we've got a good chaplain that comes up and visits with our staff on a regular basis.
Wow.
Just checks in on even if it's not necessary, he comes in all the time and just checks on them, sits down, visits with them, breaks bread with them, talks to them, and he's there as a great resource. Our city provides EAP programs, employee assistance programs, counseling services, all kinds of things to our employees. That's 100% confidential, so they don't feel like their job would be in jeopardy if they have a crisis of some sort to reach out. So we're seeing a large increase in resources available for our first responders. But I'll tell you, I think the biggest thing that is a struggle is just expressing community support for mental health for our first responders.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've still got a gap there that I'd love to see bridged. Is having the community understand the mental stress that our first responders go through. Showing some compassion and understanding to them, not during an incident, but just after. I think that would be a huge help. So we're trying to educate the public on that and showing some love and support to those guys for dealing with those incidents.
Gotcha. We have a question from the audience, and it says, "Have you seen the monk parrot that lives in Everman?"
Yes, the parrots. I don't know if you've looked at it. We've got we sell shirts and things that help promote our park events and stuff. Well, we've actually got a parrot on one of our logos. Our coffee mugs have a parrot on there.
Wow.
But yeah, we have the monarch parrots. I don't know where they came from. I've heard all kinds of stories that someone released them long ago, but they're beautiful green parrots that love to hang out in Everman for some reason, and they're all over the place. They're gorgeous.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they're beautiful. They're
Wow.
beautiful parrots. Unfortunately, they love to make the nest in the electrical lines, but they are a protected species, so there's not much we can do about it. But they love to hang out in Everman. I don't know what it is about Everman that they love, but we have them all over.
Wow.
If you want to come check out some natural wild parrots, come down to Everman and check it out.
Wow. For you, how was your experience being a police officer and working in the fire department? What was the experience like for you?
You know, when I was young
Yeah.
and started it was an adrenaline rush. I loved it. I loved the opportunity to be able to go and be in the action and help out and do what I could to make a difference. That truly was what ignited it for me in the beginning. As my career progressed, I realized that no, it's a little deeper than that. It's not about just being in the action. It's about truly making not just a difference in one incident, but how do we prevent? How do we prevent crime? How do we prevent issues? How do we prevent victims? What can we go out and do to do that? How can we mitigate the issues? So it just got deeper than that. And then as I progressed into the chief role, then we got to the opportunity to how can I change policy to affect the community in a better way? So it's just kind of evolved over time, but it's been my police and fire experience has been a huge impact in my life. It's been my identity for a long time.
Yeah.
Very recently, I transitioned over from being the police chief. I'm no longer the police chief.
Yeah.
Now my main focus is city manager and economic development. So it's been kind of a hard transition because that's been such a part of my identity as emergency services. But I love it. I really am thankful for all of the mentors and the individuals that gave me opportunities and help educate me through that to mold me into who I am today.
That's good. That's good. For you, what would be some leadership principles to help guide decision making as a public servant? You're a man of many hats. I was studying your bio, man. You've experienced a lot.
Yes, yeah. Never make a decision alone. I think that's probably my big thing. Is I really like decisions to come from data and input. And I don't mean just factual data. I'm not talking about just numbers, but get input from the people who your decisions affect.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that the city council has appreciated about me serving in my role is that I am a resident in the community. So any decisions I recommend that the city council is going to make are going to affect me as well.
Right.
So I think that's been impactful. But when it comes down to having to make leadership decisions, whether it's on policy and management of personnel or leadership decisions in the community, gaining that input is invaluable. You've got to get the feedback. I'm one of those guys, we talk about this a lot. If we're going to do something, I want to know the why. And I think that's natural for people. If you're being told that something's going to change, you want to know why is it going to change. And so I think just taking that extra time to gain that input and then provide the information out of why change has to happen or why decisions are being made, it provides a very smooth transition for whatever changes have to take effect.
Gotcha. You also mentioned earlier mitigating crime. So what systems are in place in order to manage crime prevention?
One of our biggest ones is preventative patrol. So building those relationships, being seen, being observed, getting out there in the community, being random about it, pretty much trying to let criminals know. You never know when you're going to come across an Everman police officer. Our other big thing and benefit about being in a small community is our response times. Our average response times to incidents is 2 minutes. You can't be in Fort Worth and get an average response time of 2 minutes from the police.
Wow.
So, them knowing that, we've seen that, unfortunately. We've seen that where we'll see crime that occurs just outside our jurisdiction. And we've talked to people that have been arrested, and they said, well, we did it in Fort Worth because we know that it takes them longer to get here than in Everman. When we've recently executed some agreements where now we can help Fort Worth with a partnership now that we've got concurrent jurisdiction. So we've actually stopped some crime in Fort Worth too by helping them out in there. So I think in improving those programs, preventative patrol, high visibility is one of the biggest things to prevent crime.
Where? let's pivot. Let's talk about this William J. Pittstick Regional Excellence Award. What does that consist of?
So I was nominated by our mayor to receive that award, mainly because of the regional programs that we've tried to adapt. And when I talk about what regionalization is to people, I try to put it in terms of the. Have you ever had a roommate?
Yes, I have. Yeah, in the past, I
And
have.
so why do we get a roommate? Well, we get a roommate because now we can share the internet cost, we can share the electrical cost,
Yeah,
we can share the rent, we can
Yeah.
share these costs, and so it makes it easier, it makes it more affordable.
right.
And so that's kind of been my approach is I want roommates. We need roommates. One of the biggest regionalization projects we did was a dispatch regionalization project. So we were spending about $500,000 a year to have a public safety dispatch center. That dispatch center was staffed with 4 people. Well, City of Forest Hill was spending about the same thing to have their own dispatch center. So when you take a look at this, and the staffing is the same, about 4 people. When you take a look at this, well, what is the big cost of a dispatch center? Well, the internet infrastructure, the pipelines coming in, the computer equipment, the data, the servers, all that stuff is massive cost. Well, what happens when we share that cost? Now we've shared that. Now we've freed up some funding that we can improve our staffing levels. We can reduce the cost altogether. And so we did that on a large scale. It wasn't just Forest Hill, but now we are the home for Tarrant County Regional Communications. So we dispatch for all 17 fire departments, all the unincorporated areas of Tarrant County, Forest Hill Police, Blue Mound Police, and Everman Police. So it's a very large dispatch center. And we've been able to reduce our cost of dispatching services for each participating agency.
Wow.
So now we're spending less, but we're gaining so much more. Now we don't just have one dispatcher on duty, we have 4 dispatchers on duty at any time. They're able to handle any emergency. The technology that's gone into these facilities is much greater, and it's not costing us anymore. So now we've reduced the cost, so we're reducing ultimately the tax burden on the citizens, or it's allowed us to reallocate that funding towards other needs like streets, public works, whatever else is needed that we need to do. So that program, coupled with things like our library program, partnering with the Forest Hill Library District, you guys has been a huge improvement for us. Everman had a library. Unfortunately, we were struggling financially to be able to provide the programming and resources that many people need and rely on a library for. And so, coming to you guys and talking to Michael and doing the things that we needed to do to, hey, how can we improve this? Is there a way we can partner with you guys? Because what you guys are doing here at the Forest Hill Library District is amazing. You came and spoke at our city council meeting a couple weeks ago, and it just blew my mind. I was expecting like a little 5-minute presentation. Here's some events we got going on. And
now we do a lot, Craig.
And man, that list just kept going and going and going and going. And I'm like, man, you guys are doing so much. And frankly, I think it's underutilized. I think we've got to get the word out about all the stuff you guys are doing. It's amazing, all the resources and programming and events that you guys have available here for our community. And so, that was a great opportunity for us. Hey, how can we partner and better an opportunity for people that we connect with?
Yeah.
Municipal Animal Services was another one that we partnered with the city of City of Forest Hill on. Is, hey, how can we improve animal services? Because now we're sharing a shelter, so we're sharing a cost there. Previously, we had 2 animal control staff. I think Forest Hill had 2 or had budgeted for 2 animal control staff. But when you're trying to schedule 2 people to cover 7-day-a-week coverage, how does that work? Well, you can't. Well, now that we've consolidated, we've got 4 staff members. Our volunteer base has grown. We're seeing a heavier presence, more activity, more adoption events. So we've seen improvements through all this. And so it's really not me. It's a team. Again, this is a team effort.
Yeah, exactly. It's a team effort.
It takes 2 to tango. The Bible talks about it a lot. 2 are better than 1. And so that's my approach with everything. And I would love to see, I want to see more regionalization. I want to explore regionalization within public works. I want to explore regionalization within transportation. When Fort Worth comes in and is looking at doing a transportation project, if it's going to border one of our cities, hey, let's jump on that transportation project. It's going to be cheaper. We're sharing engineering costs. We're sharing all this infrastructure costs. Let's make it more affordable. So that's what I mean by regionalization approaches. I really want to look at things from a regionalization approach because it saves taxpayer dollars and it allows us to do more, so much more with those funds and carry it further. And so we've had a lot of success with that over the last couple of years between dispatch, animal control, library. as just a couple examples. I'm ready to explore some more. I want to see what else we can do and how else we can grow.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned everything that we're doing. I was even new to it when I came here last year. Yeah, I had no idea they were doing these type of programs
It's a lot.
and doing the things that they're doing. So it really blew me away. And I'm always, applauding the team that we have, from my director Michael, Rita, Miss Jackie, Noemi, Andreas, the team that we have, and the things that we're doing. So
yeah, I mean, we struck gold being able to build this relationship with you guys, because I remember the first meeting Michael invited us over just to kind of explore and talk about what it was y'all offered. And as soon as we walked in the door, we were just blown away. And we sat down, and Michael was talking about all the different programs and opportunities and events, and then the plans. I mean, the plans y'all have to keep growing this and doing more things. I mean, we were just amazed and said, we're all in. I mean, I was sold the second half. Our Everman residents need access to this.
Yes, they do.
They have to have this. So we were sold, and y'all do amazing things here at the library.
Appreciate it. Also in your bio, you mentioned launching the service and emergency services with the Alpine Fire Department in West Texas ambulance service. What was that, service initially?
It was so I started as a volunteer firefighter, walking through the door, and then ended up being hired by the West Texas Ambulance Service to get my licensing and everything to serve on the ambulance. And I had some good mentors there that really helped me out and kind of guide me. But I was granted so many opportunities. Alpine is it's very different from the Metroplex. When we have an incident here in the Metroplex, if we have an issue in Everman, we've got great mutual aid partners. So Forest Hill's coming, Fort Worth's coming, Rendon's coming. We've got all these resources that are coming to help us out. Well, Alpine's secluded. I mean, the next closest city is over 30 miles away. Ooh. So when you get a major incident, there's no help coming. You've got what the resources you have is what you got. So it gave me a great opportunity to really be exposed to some high level incidents in command. I had some great education opportunities in command structure out there from some of the leaders that have been there for their whole life. I mean, 40, 50 years. And so I think being exposed to all of that really was great. And I love that opportunity. Wow. I'm very grateful for that.
That's cool. In regards to libraries, and you partnering with libraries and partnering with us and other libraries, what are some books that you currently read or reading now to make sure that you stay sharp in the field of work?
I've gotten big into short stories or stories. I use an app called Story Shorts. My job's demanding. I don't get a whole lot of opportunity to sit down and read a book. Unfortunately, I don't get that. So I do these short stories where I use an app that really kind of condenses these books. And I've been big into leadership books a lot lately. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
I heard of that one.
Leadership and Excellence. Lots of those kind of books, because I'm still new to this. I mean, I've only been a city manager for 5 years, and I came into the city manager role with no city manager experience. And so I've had to kind of learn on the fly. And my goal is to continue to improve. I've got great directors at our department, between our assistant city manager and finance director and our city secretary, all of our staff, and they're growing too. I mean, they're interested in growing as well. Exactly. So it's great to be a part of a team that not only do I want to grow, they want to grow. And so kind of jointly working together to learn all these new things. But I think that's been my focus. Literacy is hearing about other people's experiences in leadership, learning from other people. I think that's been my focus for literacy lately.
Gotcha. Knowing that you're new as a city manager, do you partner with other city managers or learn from other city managers in order to grow?
Oh, I plagiarize all the time. So, there's nothing, it's very rare to have anything new in government. So I'm big on networking. I've got some great friends in this role with many other cities. Anytime we have an issue or a problem that comes up, I love to use them as a soundboard, and I participate on that soundboard with them as well. So we've got a great networking relationship. One of the key things that we just did, we were struggling. One of the big changes we just did in Everman, we were struggling with retention. We were having employees that were looking at opportunities of going elsewhere. And so we were trying to figure out, okay, how do we keep these employees on board? There's only so much in the bank. I mean, so throwing out money for raises wasn't in the cards, right?
Yeah.
So what other opportunities can we try to deliver that would help improve that retention? So using that soundboard, one of the ideas that came back was looking at a 4-day work week. let's look at that. So we started researching that, and we looked at other cities, talked to other city managers that had converted to the 4-day work week, and saw a dramatic improvement from that. So we ended up converting to a 4-day work week. So now the city of Everman, our public works department in City Hall, operates on a 4-day work week. We're open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday. We're closed Friday. So what does that do for our staff? Well, it gives them a 3-day weekend every week.
Yeah.
Not only that, but it's actually helped us save money too, because the spin up cost associated with every time Public Works has to go out and do a job, now they're not having to do that 5 days a week. They're doing it 4 days a week, but they have 2 extra hours. So they're getting the same amount of work done, sometimes even more work done in those 4-day work weeks. Our electrical costs, facility costs, all those things have dropped because we're using it again 1 less day a week. And then it's also granted an opportunity for our residents, because one of the biggest complaints we've always had is, somebody has an issue with their water bill. Well, we need you to come in between 8 and 5. That's when we're open. Well, if they're working a full-time job, now they're having to either come on their lunch and miss their lunch, or they're having to take time off work to come into City Hall to take care of what they have to take care of. Well, now that we're open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., we've had many residents that come in either on their way to work or on their way home or after hours. And so we've had great feedback both from the staff and from the community on transitioning this 4-day work week. After doing that, we had a couple of employees within our public works department that was looking at leaving for an opportunity to go work at a 4-day work week city. And after we transitioned, we were able to retain those employees. So now we've saved money on having to go out and hire somebody new and train somebody new to replace them. So it's really helped out our retention a lot.
Wow, that's huge. That's huge. Knowing that you are not only the city manager, but a resident of the city of Everman, how are those relationships with the people that live around you?
I think positive. I get positive feedback all the time. I'm at every one of our events. I love to engage and talk with folks. My family's at every one of these events. They love to come out and engage. So I've got really good relationships with my neighbors and the people there in the community.
That's good.
I love to hear from them. I love to get that feedback. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? Especially as we're looking, the summertime is our budget season. So this is the time of the year where, okay, what are our plans for this next year? What do we need to focus on? And that community input's really important. I mean, it really helps us out on guiding what are the needs. And so hearing that feedback, both personally and then at all of our official events when we have our public hearings and things, it's real helpful. Very helpful.
We're going to make another small pivot. Knowing that you're a guy of many hats, how do you separate family from the things that you do in the public eye?
That's a hard one. That's a hard one. My wife and I have talked about this a lot, is that what I don't want for my kids is I don't want them to be raised as the chief's kids or the city manager's kids. And so when we go out, when we're looking at doing things like programs, whether it's sports or activities or extracurricular activities, we try to find avenues where they can be themselves and not, my kids. So we can separate that. That's one way that we try to separate that is because when I go, if my kid's going to play baseball, which he's playing baseball this year, when my kid plays baseball, I want to be able to go to his games and be his dad.
Right.
That's all. I just want to go and be his dad. I don't want to be anything else in that moment other than just being his dad. And so, we've tried to find avenues that we're able to successfully do that. Try to be proactive as we can with the family. We love camping. We just got back from a camping trip this past weekend, had an opportunity to take the kids out camping.
That's cool.
The kids love camping. So getting out and kind of disconnecting as much as we can from work and being engaged with the kids in a camping trip is always a great opportunity for us, and just being involved there. But family's huge for me. My kids are my life. My family's my life. I wouldn't be what I am without them, to be honest.
Exactly.
And so I do everything I can to really try to engage when I can with them.
Yeah. What did you feel initially when you first became a father? What was that feeling like in the beginning?
I thought I was losing my mind, man. So I'll tell you, I mean, this one's a little personal, but we call our twins our miracle twins.
Wow.
My wife and I, we ended up having to do IVF, and that was a struggle. So we had some personal struggles leading up to that, and so we took a risk through IVF, and fortunately, God blessed us with 2 babies. Then we hit another roadblock, and they were born really early, 28 weeks and 5 days. And so they were born really early. And so our kids ended up spending 3 months in the NICU. And so we were worried about the challenges that was going to present for us. But God looked out for us there too, and kept everything safe and healthy for us.
That's good stuff.
And so, you know, kind of starting off, these were my first kids, twins. All these issues kind of leading up to it, man. I mentally, I was kind of worried about what am I getting myself into. But I think a lot of the natural instincts just kind of came out. You know, I had a great father who was well involved with everything, always looking out. And so I just applied a lot of what I learned from him to try to raise my kids and keep them active and keep them engaged in things. So it's been really good.
That's cool. That's good. I guess what are some values and principles that you instill in your kids now?
Respect. That's a big thing for me. I try to make sure my kids are very respectful with everybody they come across. Patience, but if you ever try to teach a 5-year-old patience,
I don't have any kids yet. I know he does.
We're struggling on that one. Patience is we're not doing very well in that area. But you know, I think respect in just all areas. That's probably our number one thing is just teaching them respect. And we hear it. When we send them to school, we hear from the teachers, "Oh, you've got the most respectful kids." And then my wife and I always ask each other, well, "What happens at home?" We don't get this. So we're working on the respect at home part a little bit more. But no, we've got some. They're great kids, very active, high energy, 5-year-olds. But I think respect is probably the number one value we're trying to teach. Respect for everybody, regardless of views. Respect of opinions, space, all those things. Just trying to overall respect is probably the number one thing.
Gotcha. Do you feel like the relationship with your father helped you cultivate the relationship with your kids?
Very much so, much so, and not just my father, but you know, other father-like mentors that I've had in my life. I mean, I think all those have really kind of helped mold me into trying to be the father that I want to be.
Right.
And I think as a father, we're always more judgmental of ourselves. You know, there's always more that I could do, and so I try to be self-reflective in that area and see what more can I do to be a better father. But,
Gotcha. For you personally, what are some things that you do to make sure that you're mentally sharp? I know you said you try to find time to read books. What are some other things that you do for self-care?
My kids. I mean, in all reality, my kids are kind of my escape right now. Right. I do when I go to work during the day, especially during budget season like we're in right now. I'm hyper focused on everything going on with work, and so when I finally leave that office and I get home, the kids are kind of like a breath of fresh air. There's nothing better than walking in and having your daughter, your son run up to you. And they even asked me this morning because they know a lot of times I have meetings in the evening. Right, so they asked me this morning, "Do you have a meeting tonight? Are you going to be home?" And no, I'm going to be home tonight. And so they were excited. So that's a huge breath of fresh air to just feel that desire from your kids to want to interact and be there. So that's my escape and my kids. Other than that, if I get an opportunity to kick back in the yard with a cigar and just be alone for a little bit, those kind of opportunities are good too.
Yeah, gotcha. For you being city manager, what are some other things that you're looking forward to see, I guess, within the next 5 to 10 years?
Growth, just trying to keep up with all the growth. We want to see street improvement projects, pedestrian traffic. We've got, you know, when the city was originally planned and developed, we've got very minimal sidewalks. And so that hurts our youth who rely so much on foot traffic to get places. I mean, they're walking everywhere or biking everywhere. So, you know, improving that, we've been able to achieve a great grant program that we're getting ready to put in a whole new network of sidewalks that'll connect all of our schools together, our parks together. So we're looking forward to that project coming up and coming to fruition to improve that pedestrian traffic and improve walkability. We talk about sustainability in a city. And I don't know if you've ever had an opportunity to research strong towns. Have you done any research in strong towns? So strong towns it's a philosophy where, you know, cities as a city, we've made this mistake historically, and that this pattern has continued where we allow these big home subdivisions to come in and they lay all these roads in throughout, and they don't design it with a walkability design to it. And they do all that at no cost. The city doesn't have to invest $1 into it. So all these roads are now existing and we didn't have to pay for it. That's great. It's a great start. but those roads deteriorate over 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
And then so 10, 20 years down the road, well, now the city's got to come back, and now it's our responsibility. We have to repave these roads or upkeep these roads. And so we've done this over and over and over again, that it's just not sustainable. And so how do we build sustainability when we've made these errors all this time? We've got all this roadway that we can't fix. And so that's why, not just in Everman, roads and streets is a number one complaint in almost every community you go to. You go to any city council meeting, any city, anywhere, you're probably going to hear somebody complain about streets. I mean, it's a issue that affects everybody. It's because as a country and as a society, we just haven't looked at walkability. How can we design neighborhoods around walkability, not relying so much on asphalt and streets to be laid down? Because it's great when it comes in. It provides great revenue for the city with property tax when it first kicks off. But 20 years later, when it comes time to pay for a replacement of all those streets, the money's not there.
Yeah,
it's not there. And so I think for us, just trying to figure out a way to plan for higher sustainability. How do we improve that? How do we improve walkability within our community, and try to gear more towards foot traffic and making a closer knit community?
Gotcha.
Providing more resources. We need some commercial growth in Everman. We've got a lot of services that just aren't available in our community. We don't have any medical. We don't have any dry cleaning. We don't have, we're very limited in those realms. So we're working very closely right now with our Community Development Corporation on developing a strategic plan that will hopefully focus on, hey, how do we bring these community needs that every community has to have? How do we bring these here so that these resources are available for a walkable community to make us more sustainable in the future?
Right. I guess for me, how does funding work when it comes to making sure that these resources are available for the community? You mentioned being for the community and hearing them out. Yeah. How does that process work?
So there's never enough money to achieve everything. I mean, that's the fact. There's never enough. So what we have to try to sit down and decide is, what are the priorities? And that is tough. That is tough when you sit there and say, okay, how do you prioritize police over streets or fire? All the different elements that go into it, and how do you break this funding out? Typically, streets always rely on bond packaging or bond funding to be done. And so that's one approach that I'm excited to have Commissioner Miles in over at Precinct 1.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about this. I think he's been here on your show. We've talked about partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how can we partner to do streets better and to make it more affordable? He's engaged in those conversations with us. So I think, it's just a matter of trying to figure out, how do you allocate the funding? There's never enough. And then what are your community's priorities?
Mm-hmm. That's important.
What we have to really look at when we look at a budget for a city, you have to look at, what is it you're willing to sacrifice, because that's what you're going to sacrifice. Because there's just never enough money to achieve everything that everybody wants. And so we've got to take an approach to it as, what is it we want to sacrifice and what's worth keeping and having?
Yeah, that's what it boils down to.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. Question from the audience. Have you guys thought about a chamber of commerce in the city?
We have. Chambers are typically separate from the city for a purpose. They're kind of a standalone organization. Gotcha. Our goal is I would like to, and I've been trying to engage with a couple of our business owners in the community to build one, because I'd love to see one come in. Chambers aren't just for trying to recruit business, but they're also kind of I don't want to say lobbying group, because the lobbyists are now outlawed, but they look out for the voice of the business owners in the community. So it would be inappropriate for the city to start a chamber of commerce, because we wouldn't want to influence that voice. They need to have their own independent voice.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But we've got some great business owners that are in our city, and we've got some new ones that have just come into our city that are interested in that. I would love to see a chamber of commerce get developed so that they can look out for that voice. But not only so that they can be that voice, but so they can give that influence on what it is the community needs from their perspective.
I love it. As we put a wrapper on this show, I have another one for you. As Forest Library District prepares for a significant building expansion, what are your long-term goals for continuing and strengthening our partnership with Everman City Services?
We want to be a partner. I've told Michael this from the beginning. Hey, I don't just want to pay you for a service and then walk out the door. Like that's not what this is. We want to be a partner. And Michael and you guys at the library have been amazing. when was it? Maybe 6 months ago or so. I got an invite to come out and kind of, as y'all were doing the research on the potential expansion, and I was asked what I wanted. What is it I felt like the library should include as the city manager for the city? And I thought, man, I appreciate that. I mean,
Right.
getting that opportunity, and so we want to be a partner in everything that we can to improve the library. Anything that we can. I feel like y'all have been a little bit on the stronger side of the partnership. We need to step our side up a little bit more and do more for you. But our ears are open. We want to be a great partner. The programs and things that y'all are doing here is amazing, and we want to see it grow.
Yeah.
So anything that we can do to be supportive of that growth, we're in.
I love it. I love it. Any closing remarks? We have
One more?
Okay, let me see. Oh, okay. Any political ambitions for the future?
I hate politics. And you know what's funny is when I got into the city manager role, I knew I was going to have to deal with politics, and I'm like, I hate politics. You know, I'll give you my political stance. I feel like 80% of us are very centered. We're right here, and all we hear about is all the deep sides on one side or the other. But I think the majority of issues we can all come together on and agree on. I've got no political ambitions. I don't want to get into that arena. I feel like it's a dirty arena. My personal opinion is I would rather be the boots on the ground that try to bring things to fruition for the people, take the direction from those that are making the policy decisions, and try to make that dream and that vision come true. That's where I love to be. So I personally, I don't think I've got any political ambitions. I'll be supportive as I can, but I can't stand politics. It's just it's dog eat dog, and I don't want any part of. I try to be drama free as much as I can.
Yeah,
I hate drama, and I don't want no part of it. You tell me what it is your vision is, and I'll go to bat to make that a reality for you.
I got you. Going back to what I just mentioned,
Was that too blunt? Am I being a little too?
No, be yourself. We encourage every guest to be themselves. Any closing remarks? Any last words you want to share with those that are watching?
Hey, I appreciate this opportunity. I mean, this is the first time I've had an opportunity to come be on a podcast, so it's unique. I love the opportunity to engage. We host a town hall every year, and I've always said I'm here to answer the tough questions. If I can't answer it, I'll tell you why I can't answer it, but I'll also go do the research and get you an answer. So I think that's how every city official should be. Don't be afraid to ask those tough questions. Don't be afraid to get involved.
Yeah.
But be a partner. I think if we can come together on some issues, everything will be better.
Gotcha. I think I have one question that I didn't get to. What words of encouragement would you give to those that are considering being a police officer or a firefighter? Do it.
There's a lot of bad public animosity that comes out, but I can't tell you that this has truly been, being a police officer and being a firefighter has been the best thing to ever happen to me. There's been some bad. There's always, and just like in any career field, there's bad apples. There's been bad police officers. There's been bad firefighters. And those the minority of those incidences that get publicized so much don't determine the majority of us. They just don't. And so don't let that discourage. We hear a lot of discouragement regarding, hey, we don't, there's not a lot of support for police. There is. Where the issues lie is in policy making. So let's address those issues in policy making and separate that from the actual job. Right. And I would strongly encourage anybody to go out and explore that career field. There's no better job in the world. Your office view changes every minute. You get to drive around and explore. You get to engage with people who you wouldn't normally have an opportunity to engage with. Yeah. You get to explore different cultures, different ethnicities, all of it. You get exposed to the world doing that job, and you learn so much from just people. Yeah. And so I love it.
Gotcha. We appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you. I really do.
Appreciate you being on the show, man. Appreciate
this was fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I had fun learning a lot about you. Extensive background. This is Ordinary Conversations with Extraordinary People with your host, Willie Beeman. Just a friendly reminder, we will have a guest host for the month of June and July, Miss Adrian Knox, who will be holding it down because I have to attend to our summer programs. And so, but we have a lot going on for you guys this summer, so I will be back in the month of August. And so stay tuned. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.